What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode review as we're set to go ahead and get into episode number 48 of Zenkaigers, the penultimate episode, guys, before the finale next week. Can't believe it's here. I've been actually really waiting for this finale, unfortunately, when it comes to Zenkaiger, for this series to wrap up. I'm thoroughly excited for Dawn Brothers and to certainly see where the trajectory certainly goes after this particular Super Sentai series. But what I will give Zenkaiger is the fact that I personally feel like it's wrapping itself up relatively well. It does feel a little bit odd to know that the last episode is going to be surrounding sort of a god entity that just sort of now revealed himself very late into the progress of this particular series. Again, Zenkaiger for me has kind of opened itself up to be a series that's worth repeating, and I can't believe I'm saying that. It may be a struggle for me to get through, but it is one of those series I kind of want to go back and rewatch just to really see how integral this god entity has been throughout the entirety of this series. When did we start kind of noticing the differences or the voice changes of Gigi or the manipulation of people and controlling people's bodies? Like, I kind of want to know how early that certainly takes place. If you guys have any ideas, please go ahead and certainly let me know. You know, it's just one of those things that we've set up this whole entirety of this season with these main characters, a lot of big storylines, which some of them definitely do get resolved, right? Like, we get Kaido's parents actually showing up towards the end of this particular episode. Thankfully, I wasn't quite sure if we would see them once again by the end of the show or not. But the idea that we have had all these storylines and then all of a sudden now the main villain turns into somebody that we just got introduced to. Not to say that they're pulling me in separate directions or trying to fool me or anything like that, but sometimes it just feels like maybe it's a little bit too much, or a storyline that's kind of rushed, and like the payoff could have been there with this particular episode, but now we've got one more episode to kind of resolve a loose end that just recently came our way. So I'm really kind of curious to go into episode number 49 next week and really see how they wrap this up. If we get more revelations from this god entity in regards to how they play a much bigger role into all of this to really make it just as impactful, if not more, for a finale as this episode probably could have been if Bokkuwaus was sort of the true villain of this series. You know what I mean? So this episode definitely did lay the groundwork to completing some great storylines. I thought the action was relatively great in here. The soundtrack too actually really uplifted me during a lot of these particular scenes. Even from the Barashitara facing off against Zox and Stacey, great battle sequence, great emotions, and even so much when it comes to the soundtrack for when we see our Zenkaigers raising themselves to the occasion to go ahead and take care of Bokkuwaus. It's always those type of moments when it comes to Super Sentai that really give me those chills, right? Seeing our heroes overcome the obstacles that they're kind of in. And one of the things that I enjoyed about that moment of seeing the Zenkaigers sort of step up, you know, one of the themes about this season has always been firsts, right? Whether the fact of the uniqueness of this season is very much a first, or even Kaido's own personal goals of trying to become the first in a lot of things in his own personal life. I do love the idea that while first has been a major theme this season, the moment that is really relied upon in here is a moment where Kaido sort of appreciates the idea of not being first, right? When we get the opportunity to see Bokkuwaus has destroyed the gears, our Sentai team really trying to figure out where do we go from here, what do we do to overcome, and I love the idea of Kaido just looking at his broken gear and realizing, like, yeah, this is a situation that is not a first, but because it's not a first, like, this gives me the hope of knowing that there have been other Super Sentai teams that have been in our predicament before, right? And I've mentioned this to you guys before too. Like, one of the things about Sentai that I love, and it doesn't happen every season, but certain seasons that it does, when we see our team lose their abilities and they have to step up and face off against the villain, you know, either without their abilities or they have so much courage and they push themselves so far to try and defeat the enemy that all of a sudden maybe their powers come back or something happen, right? Like they've proven themselves. So I really love this moment of Kaido realizing other Super Sentai teams have been in this situation that we are in right now. This is not a moment to doubt ourselves. If anything, it's a moment to believe in ourselves even more now than ever. So I thought that was pretty cool, and getting to see the other Zenkaigers riled up to believe in themselves. The great roll call that we wind up getting in sort of their civilian modes, if you will, really getting the opportunity to go ahead and try and take on Bokkuwaus and the other gears, if you will, that Bokkuwaus has wound up absorbing, recognizing that and giving the powers back away from Bokkuwaus to our Zenkaiger team. Just really gave me chills. Really great moment. And again, you know, I'm a big fan of the Kaido actor being able to draw those emotions. Great performance in here. He really nailed it for me. But I really enjoyed this episode. Like the opening sequence was great to me when we talk a little bit about the fighting and things like that, getting the opportunity to see Zox sort of hyping himself up to get back into the fight against Barashitara after him and Stacey have been badly beaten, if you will. Just hearing Zox talk about what his own personal treasure is to him, which really includes the idea of family and friends and that sort of being worth protecting, I thought was really powerful stuff coming from somebody like Zox Goldtweaker, who really tends to try and do things on his own. But we have seen before, when it comes to family, he does take disrespecting his family very personally, as he stepped up on several occasions to go ahead and protect his brothers and Flint, and we get to see the same situation here when it comes to recognizing his friends and looking at everybody sort of as his treasure. And I feel like that moment, because you do get the opportunity to see Stacey looking at him, I think that moment also sort of motivates Stacey to realize what it is that he truthfully wants to fight for, right? Like, again, I really love the action between the Barashitara facing off against Zox along with Stacey in here. But to see Stacey get to that point where we've got Barashitara mocking him, right? The idea of like, oh, you know, there's been plenty of people that have chased after me because of what I did to their mom. Like, damn, bro, how many moms have you killed, right? Like, just a ruthless guy. Like, Barashitara is just ruthless, man, as they certainly come. I love the fact that Stacey makes it a point to tell him, like, I'm not doing this for revenge, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this because I finally found something for myself, and you're not about to take it away from me this time around. And it just really goes to show Stacey's growth. Granted, I'm sure there are some things, especially when we see the death of Barashitara in here, you know, clearly Stacey is reminiscing about his mom, but it's the idea of not necessarily relying and thinking about so much in the past, but really about who you want to become now and the great people that you have met in your life that have helped push you to this particular moment. And he realizes just how much there is a family for him here when it comes to Kaido and his family as well. So I just thought it was really great to kind of see what Stacey wants to stand up for, and even Zox sort of complimenting him. And I'm like, well said, well said. And great shot too when Barashitara like explodes, and I love the fact of seeing Stacey jump in front of everybody with his shield, and the camera just kind of pulled back behind Stacey, Zox, and Flint as you see like the flames coming around him as Stacey protects him. A beautiful shot, beautiful shot. So yeah, the action worked extremely well in here. Great emotional moments for some of our characters, really putting their stamp on where they certainly stand, and then a great musical soundtrack accompanied by it. They had some really great moments in this episode I personally enjoyed. Like, for instance, Gigi versus Sichan. Like, what? Like, I personally never thought that we would get the opportunity to see Sichan, but this is the true showdown in this episode, if you ask me. Just seeing the two birds collide against each other, pecking at each other and things like that certainly made me laugh. I low-key was hoping for this fight in this season, but I honestly did not expect them to actually give it to us, and the fact that they did, I loved it. I loved it. So I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to see those birds go ahead and face off against one another in here. I will say this was a really interesting twist for me, especially based off of how close we know Gigi is to Bokkuwaus. To see the fact that the god entity controlling Gigi in this particular moment to give the Zenkaigers Bokkuwaus's weak point, and Bokkuwaus being there to see Gigi sort of turn on him, and the immediate destruction of Gigi definitely had my jaw dropping, just because of the fact that we know how much Bokkuwaus loves this damn bird. But the fact that in some weird sort of trippy way, like the fact that he destroys him purposefully for turning his back, and then he grieves the loss of his bird. I love the fact that Juran's like, well, you're the one that did that, you know, like you're the one that killed him. Why are you crying over it? The fact that he absorbs Gigi, it's just really sort of very creepy sort of love and relationship and affection and connection that Bokkuwaus has to Gigi, and it really just kind of overflows in this particular moment where we get the opportunity to see Bokkuwaus finally sort of take his form. And I'm actually a really big fan of the costume design. I truly am. You know, the bulky sort of sides that he has next to him, maybe a little unnecessary, but I still personally really enjoy the design that we wind up getting. And he does reference the idea too that his royal family has this ability to sort of absorb its predecessors. It almost kind of makes me wonder if, like, some of the parts and pieces that we see on Bokkuwaus maybe come from different parts of the Toji Tendo dynasty lineage that's kind of grown up over the years, right? Like the idea of seeing him being able to absorb Toji gears, Gigi and things like that. It feels very much like whoever is now sort of in charge gets to kind of absorb maybe those that came before him. So not only does he have his royal family power, but now he also has power on top of anything else that he wound up absorbing when it comes to Toji gears and Gigi. Incredible stuff just to kind of see exactly how powerful Bokkuwaus is. Like even seeing him use some of the Sentai gears against the Zenkaiger team themselves, right? Like their actual counterparts from the Super Sentai team, destroying and beating up whoever it was, whether that was Mystic Force taking care of Majin or, you know, any other particular teams that we certainly have had. It was just really interesting, the choice and the selections of teams that Bokkuwaus was using to take out his Zenkaiger enemies. But they definitely get the job done. They definitely get the job done. No, we get to see the Zenkaigers utilizing the weak point, if you will, using the Zenkai cannon in his back, and then of course the Super Zenkaiger spear in the front. I guess they double penetrated Bokkuwaus. I don't know. But anyway, it was beautiful destruction, to certainly say the least. And in the process, winning the day, really liberating all the worlds, if you will, also. So happy day for everybody, right? And then this is where the confusion really starts sort of sitting in for me in regards to how much of a role the God entity has truly had all season long. Because even though the worlds have been liberated, we get to see Zox and Stacey understanding that this God entity is clearly up to something, right? I mean, we saw him in Flint's body messing around with the parallel gate. We even see him absorbing Kaido's body in here with Sichan, if you will. It's seemingly activating or using the Toji gear technology that the Toji Tendo wind up sort of creating also. Pretty trippy that he winds up also like embodying Zox and sending them back over to Piratopia. He's really did his part in regards to separating everybody, right? The pirates on Piratopia, Kikainoids on Kikaitopia now, Earthlings back on Earth sort of thing. It seems very much like he's recaptured these worlds, has sort of stuck everybody where they need to, and for this God who has seemingly created everything and didn't like the way that the Toji Tendo were ruining things and running things, he clearly liked their technology in the sense of being able to capture these worlds and maybe finally keeping them for himself, right? Like maybe this is his backup plan in regards to, I can create and keep them for myself and not necessarily have to worry about another group of Toji Tendo or some other alien race kind of coming out of nowhere and really destroying and ruining sort of my own creations. You know what I mean? It feels like it's a very selfish play here to keep his toys for himself is kind of the mentality that I'm getting. But we'll see. We'll see what his end game truly is. And I really do hope that we get a much bigger breakdown and understanding as to what's really going on here at the end of the day, because the God Entity storyline has really sort of overshadowed anything else that we've gotten. Stacey's now on the side of good, right? He's part of the family. The mom and dad and Kaido were back, which mom was hiding out on Sushi World. I thought they went back to Sushi World already to find him, but apparently his dad wound up finding his mom, but they're certainly back also too. The only storyline that is yet to get resolved is the Ricky and Katana storyline, it feels like. Will that get resolved in one more episode? Who certainly knows? Or will that be a wasted storyline that's really led to nowhere? I will be kind of curious to see how it all resolves itself. But yeah, this God Entity is really the last person standing. And so we'll, I think if anything, next week's episode will be really integral in regards to the idea of where this ends and where exactly is the launching point, and how does it lead into something like Dawn Brothers, considering that these two seasons will in fact be very much connected. But guys, listen, at the end of the day, these are simply just my A+ opinions. I always want to go ahead and know yours. So what did you guys think about episode number 48? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. And listen, if there's any particular moments that I missed, character developments, plot details that you guys want to further continue to talk about, please let your thoughts be known in the comment section box after this particular video airs, and we'll definitely continue this discussion on next week's episode. Or feel free to join us over on our Discord forum community. There is a link in our comment section box, or excuse me, there is a link in our description box below if you want to join us there. But other than that, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for us here. We'll certainly see you back on A+ Morphinominal this Saturday at noon Central Time, and then next week for a Zenkaiger finale review. But until then, do me a big favor, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Full throttle, non-stop. Have a good one, guys. Bye.